the world building exposition for the guy who didn't take social studies. That was when it was like, oh shit.
Yeah, the apprentice Malachite. Yeah,
Like,
he's just like
you have
his
to
character.
be-
Oh my God.
He is a retard. He is actually stupid. He is a moron.
He is one
Yeah,
of the
they-
several types of canonical retard in this universe. The writers thought they could get away with shit writing if they just wrote everyone in universe retarded, and he's one of the several. He's a classic retard. There's no reason. He's just really stupid. We've got a lot of characters who are stupid because they're
Which could have
technically
been interesting.
the other stupid characters are stupid because they're children, which allows them to get away with a lot of stuff in the show. But he is just normal stupid. And of course, when I say normal stupid, I don't mean... I just mean he's really stupid. There's nothing... That's it. And, yeah, any writer worth their salt wouldn't have the balls, let alone the lack of dignity to write it such that he's been on this mission for this long and been a part of this civilization for this long, and he doesn't know what the equivalent of like America,
are.
China, you know, like he just doesn't know anything.
Yeah, he doesn't
do
know
we
any of the
wanna-
big countries or anything.
Do we want to say what the value is of the cargo? Because that's revealed later in like the dollar value. It's a lot.
Well, but
and
we already
this-
said that the company told them they're less valuable than the cargo. Like they will die before the cargo is lost, which doesn't make sense because in this scene they suggest what word am I looking for? Getting rid of the cargo, you know, but the space equivalent.
Jettison
Jettison the cargo, yeah.
Ejecting? Yeah.
Well, the reason
Yeah.
I was going to mention that is that you've got the company that is going to, Weyland-Yutani in this case, is going to pay tens of billions of dollars essentially to do this, but they're going to hire actual idiots.
Yeah,
Like-
I mean,
Yep.
in a later scene, you will see that Yutani says she will pay $50 billion, $50 billion for the immediate return of the specimens. So if that helps establish the value of it, and obviously the price of the ship, the price of the crew, which obviously they maybe cut a few corners in, but like the work and effort and the money it takes to secure them, that's what it's worth to them.
And that might
Like,
even be
you-
an underestimate, though,
valuable.
because like in that negotiation, Boy Cavalier isn't actually really genuinely negotiating for a good price because he doesn't need the money. And in an earlier scene, he says $1 trillion of R&D has just dropped into our lab, which might suggest that it's worth even more than the 50 billion that Yutani was trying to sort of bid for it.
Yeah, 50
Yeah,
billion
I mean-
sounded low. I mean, at some point when you just add that many zeros, it starts to become a little bit arbitrary. But 50 billion for a company, you know, for ridiculously dangerous like biological weapons, essentially, from a company that is worth what, trillions upon trillions of dollars.
I
It's just
assume
comedy
they're all
money.
worth trillions, yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean, if you want to be a company, instead of saying all of your lives as crew members who are they're going to be the ones in charge of the cargo and getting it back, that's your task. Instead of saying that all of your lives are worth less than the cargo, what you maybe say is, we will give you millions of dollars each if you can do this job successfully, because
Yeah.
that's peanuts compared to the value of the ship and the cargo and the R&D and everything you're going to
That's what I
learn from
mean.
it. It is a drop in the ocean in terms of money, and that is insane value and encouragement. The biggest carrot in the world you can give to people like this. But they don't do it because it's stupid evil.
and what you do is you hire. You're not even competent. You hire the most competent people. You hire the most competent scientists, people who I'm just thinking of like Breaking Bad, you know, people who have been trained for this mission from when they were very, very young. Like,
Yeah.
where almost, because resources in this case are essentially unlimited and the reward is essentially unlimited. That's
Astronomical.
why they're going
yeah.
out to do this. Yeah.
But it's a
but no,
65-year mission. Yeah, we'll pay you gajillions of dollars. Oh, you're worried about your family? We'll pay them gajillions of dollars. Your families are all set for life. We need this cargo.
That's what I mean about...
We will pay you
Crew-
so much money to do this for us.
Remember, Ash says he can explain when Crew Expendable comes up, as though he, even as a fucking synthetic, realizes, like, okay, this probably doesn't look great. What it means is, you know, as opposed to it being,
doesn't
like,
look
written into their contracts, it's like, you guys suck compared to the cargo, okay? Because, like I said, did anyone understand this line, by the way? Because when Morrow said, because the engineer guy's like, maybe we get rid of the specimens, and Morrow's like, the specimens are the mission, which, by the way, they would already know. But then he says back, easy for you to say, cyborg. What does that mean?
There does
means-
seem to be two points where they kind of have a bit of a bias against cyborgs.
Well, but before we get to that, what does this
That's
mean,
all it is,
easy
though.
for you to say? What does he mean?
And
Does he
it's
say
not
anything
in the
after
show,
that?
but you
He's leaving
could
behind as well, right?
Sorry?
could you like argue this isn't in the show, and it would have been interesting to see it in the show. The only thing I was thinking when that line came up was like, well, he's a cyborg, so he's like his body can be changed, can be changed again. Does that mean that like he's on this mission which is incredibly dangerous, but he's been equipped to handle it better than they have, and also he can be repaired in a way they can't be repaired, so he's got less of a care about how long and how
They
dangerous
would just
it
make
is.
them cyborgs too.
But
right?
that's just not the
Higher
case. So he's got a robot arm. That doesn't because a lot of people are saying it's a racism thing. It's like no, I know about this. We're going to talk about that. It's really stupid, but easy for you to say regarding we're not jettisoning the samples. What is he talking about?
Does he say what's his next line? Does he elaborate? I can't remember.
I think he does.
We lost a lot of good men getting them. Oh, so
yeah.
is he saying that he wants to do it out of
You didn't know
revenge?
them?
And
Like,
that the
you didn't know
cyborg doesn't
people
have to
who
worry
died, or
about
they
that?
were our friends?
This isn't clear because Morrow is asleep until they wake him up. So is the idea that Morrow is just kind of asleep until they need him? I'm trying to remember.
Well, they do shifts, don't they?
Episode 5
yes.
begins with him being woken up. So
Yeah, okay.
Which again,
well, 'cause
shift thing is a really interesting idea that you could do a huge amount with, because you could throw out at him that he was asleep when loads of people died, and that's the source of resentment amongst the people on the crew who have to be awake and see it will happen.
Yeah.
You could do that. They don't do that. But the cyborg line, I don't think it gets elaborated on.
Well, because then he says that
it's just thrown out as like establishment
It's
stuff.
just to
It's
let
the
us
same
know.
thing as
this
the
happened for
company's
what?
thing.
So they can put shit in our breakfast cereal. So it's like the implication is that he hates the company, thus wants to jettison the samples out of a form of revenge that the cyborg can't understand because he was asleep. But
No,
and forfeit his payment.
But
for
I was
going to
say, why would you?
Has gone on.
That'd be like a shit
and
form
wants
of
to get paid
revenge
for it?
because then you don't get paid.
Yeah, that's something a stupid person does. No one gains.
Oh yeah,
from that. Everyone
this
loses.
character is an idiot.
Yeah.
What?
But also, that line might theoretically work better with, say, an alien type setup where they have been diverted to this extra mission, which was not the thing they signed up for. But because they all signed up for this mission and they all know that this is the deal and they all know why and when they will get paid and for what service, the line makes no sense. It's almost like that they've lifted the character dynamics from Alien, but that they haven't accounted for the fact that their own setup is different, and so no one has any reason to say what they're saying in this scene.
The only thing I can think of is that maybe he's saying, like, easy for you to say we lost a lot of good men, suggestion being that Morrow is not a good man, but he's also not really a man because of the racisms. Like that,
Okay,
maybe?
Or
one more thing
or
before we
people
get to
who
the
are killed are
racism.
friends of the crew, not
Because
Morrow.
someone
Or
suggested,
Morrow's
what
too
if
much of a
he's
company man.
what if he's trying to say that he wants to get rid of them so that they definitely don't lose any more men, and it's easy for the cyborg to not have to deal with this because he didn't see people. I mean, he would know they died, so it would be the same thing.
Yeah, but people don't have a reaction to that in this show, Mahler. You
Okay, well,
terrible.
like I said,
people don't react to death.
There's loads of lines like this that leave me fucking baffled. But if we get to the racism part, there's I want to say like 4 lines, maybe 5 total in the whole show that imply people have something against cyborgs. I don't know why. It feels forced
you can
as
come
hell.
up with reasons why, but without explanation, it is a little strange.
Well,
It might be.
I get
'cause
synths. I don't get cyborgs.
Maybe if somebody was yeah, I think this has happened. I've seen this before. I forget in what. But if people are able to get essentially bionic replacement. Hello?
Deus Ex, like the newer Deus Ex games, have this as a thing where like the people who've got augmentations get shit on. But I mean, the reason why that happened was because there was a big cataclysmic event that affected all of them and made them all go crazy and start attacking people.
Yeah, see, so that's different.
Yeah, see that.
So that would be.
That's what I mean. That's
Well, then,
that's the difference.
It might be that they are. It's kind of like a subconscious, almost jealousy, where you've been given this bionic superhuman limb or something that allows you to simply do more than I could possibly do. And those things obviously cost a lot of money, and I either can't afford it or I'm not able to pay it off after it's given to me. So it's almost like a class parallel kind of divide between the essentially transhumanists, cyborgs, who are replacing body parts with bionic limbs that are better than their organic originals, and people who are not able to afford it. Which could
The
be
other-
interesting to talk
So it's-
about, but they don't
It
in
could
this
be,
show.
but then there's also the follow-on for that, which is that he is a company pet because he has this thing. He was given this thing by the company. He is not part of the crew. He is the company's representative on the ship more than the other
He's
ones.
part of
are.
the
See that
Yeah.
these things are workable, but if you
That
put all
makes
the
sense.
references
Exactly.
together, there's nothing coherent there because he gets criticized for being a cyborg implicitly by all kinds of different people above and below him.
Because Morrow is a company man, like through and through, but that doesn't ever come up in a way that like is intelligent or that is thoughtful. When Morrow is very he's stupidly antagonistic to the crew in a lot of the things that he says
Sure,
and how
yeah.
he refers to them. So if he was like truly a company man and he's like Yutani 100%, I mean, it's implied that he was in a good personal relationship
Yes.
with Yutani herself.
Mm-hmm.
When
He
he
picked him
left.
up out of the gutter, and if the rest of
Yes.
the crew knew that, then the animosity would be justified. But I don't.
And that would be the thing,
think
though.
the
He'd
rest
be a
of the crew
company
does know
boy
that.
or something like that. But no, they're very specific. Cyborg. Like, we don't like cyborgs. And they do it as though they are synths. Like, we don't like... Which, you know, the animosity for a synth, we can make up. But I would still be complaining if they hadn't actually given us anything other than, fuck you, synth. But I think it's even worse with Cyborg, because it is a guy with a metal arm that can become a blowtorch or a knife or hack stuff. And it's like,
Yes.
okay.
He's essentially the normal person in Ghost in the Shell
And so...
or Cyberpunk 2077. He's just
Having-
a normal person.
Like, do you remember the part where he's in the building and he's got the alien in like a sleeping bag? Which
Yes.
I
How
love
could I
saying out of
forget?
context.
Spray paint sleeping bag, yeah.
I called it a pierogi, but
sleeping
you go
bag.
ahead. You do you.
Those guys walk up to him, and at first they chill with him, and then they go, "He's a cyborg," and I remember like, okay. Oh
How
no!
is that not like kind of normal in this world?
That's what I mean.
Honestly,
And
this should be kind of standard.
Noah's talked about how this is supposed to be a class struggle show. It's supposed to like so I'm sure you're probably on point with it being something to do with that. But I guess the whole point I want to make is just how incoherent this shit is and how limited it
there's
is.
no supporting material for it.
And
really,
the
Yeah.
obvious thing would have been to go the synth route. It's way easier to justify and way fewer lines of why people would be like, "Ugh, you're not even human, and you're probably a camera. Like that's all you're supposed. You're like the company's fucking monkey running around telling everybody what to do, as opposed to
Yeah.
you know with
He's a
Kirsch or
puppet
whatever
on
have you."
strings.
And it's enjoyable then because we know the synths are actually like they've got some pretty complex personalities, and you can do twists like they don't actually work for the company, or that they work for a different company, or that they are like David, where you have no idea what the fuck they're doing, creating their own whatever. But yeah, I don't know. This was just one of the elements that runs through the show that I was very confused by, and it looks like there's a reason for that. There wasn't much of anything they wanted
It
to
also
actually do
mirrors
with it.
like my experience going through the show as well, is having these conversations very early on. It's like, well, that line could be interesting, and I wonder why they're telling me that. There's a concept there which I'm sure I'm not sure they'll explore. They might explore. This could be really interesting. Why are they telling me that here? I'm intrigued to find out more. And then over time realizing that they have no reason for telling you anything in the show except that they think you need to know it at this point. So you need to know he's a cyborg because he's a cyborg. That's kind of it. When Noah Hawley says it's a class warfare show, it's like, okay, how does that actually bed into the show? Well, you'll get a scene with a guy dressed up as Napoleon, so that's great. And then with the like backstory stuff for the companies, it's like, well, again, really could be really interesting interplay political stuff. They've said they want it to be the new Game of Thrones, so how are we going to explore all the political tensions between all these companies? They're introducing them here now. It must be relevant. No,
Nope.
it isn't. It's just that we need to know it in this scene. And because
So
we
they want
need to
this
know
to
it
be
in
the
this
new Game of
scene,
Thrones.
characters in the scene know about it, even though they can't know about it because they've been on a 65-year mission and one of these companies was formed less than 10 years ago. But they know it exists. Until Morrow forgets he knows it exists in a later scene, because that also happens.
We're off to a really good
Well,
start.
Yeah, I mean it's so the show kind of begins. Morrow is awoken from I must call it cyber sleep because we were talking about cyborgs. Cryo sleep. He's essentially told that shit's been going down. A pair of facehuggers, one of which latched itself to the captain and was killed when the doctor did an incision on it, and the acid killed the captain. He's dead, and someone else got a facehugger on them, and everything's going wrong. People don't quite react normally to the fact that
Well,
their
I was just
crewmates
gonna
have been
say,
killed.
Just for anyone who's listening to this, you just recalled like the events in a way that was more realistic as dialogue in universe than what they do in universe.
I didn't mean to. I'm
I know
very
you.
sorry.
I recognize that, like, because you're trying to, like, you're doing the thing where you explain events in a very, like, sterile way, so then we can talk about them. But that's what was so remarkable about this. Morrow is being woken up by a guy to be told everything that Rags just said, right? Like, Facehugger's escaped. They've killed the captain's dead, thanks to the doctor fucking up a surgery, which we'll get to in a second. And it's all explained like in a borderline comedic way. He's like,
yeah, because the person
this has
who
happened.
gets him is like he's joking around and he's very flippant about it when like essentially a crew member and possibly another crew member have been attacked by aliens. One of them is dead. And you have to wake up the security officer.
The captain.
Yeah, the
captain is dead. There's been a fire. The aliens that you know and everyone knows are the mission and incredibly dangerous because they've already killed people are out of containment. And he's like, oh, yeah, it's like there was a fire. The captain's dead. Oh, yeah, like one of the creatures got out. I think maybe one, maybe two. I don't know. Oh, but by the way, I also recorded these two fucking. And do you want to see it? Because it's kind of hard.
Yeah,
like,
that's all in there. That's all in there.
About?
It's fucking insane.
Because
do you remember all of it is with them? Like the camera follows both of them and you can see their expressions, except for the part where he tells them the captain's dead. We're at a wide shot. We can't even see their faces.
Like that would be the one that you would really want to make sure that you get their reactions to, given that that's like the most significant
Captain
development.
dying
I need to be clear about this. This is the shot for Captain's dead. If everyone could pull up the stream.
Yeah. Oh, let me click the live button.
Unfucking believable. This to me is like evidence. It's like, oh, this is a shit show.
Oh, and also, bear in mind as well, it was already mentioned, but the captain's death was that one of the idiots cut the facehugger's tail and the fucking acid spilled onto his neck.
Funny, because you go into that room, and you remember it from Alien when they're really careful, and the minute that they go really slowly, and the minute they make the incision, and it's like tries to tighten, they stop immediately, and then they take the small incision, and a little bit of acid comes out, and then they stop again because the acid's good. You walk into the room here, and the captain's head has just exploded. So, I tried to get it off. It didn't really work.
The nonchalant reaction to the captain's incredibly grisly death.
Terrible.
That was entirely stupid and pointless. And the guy who did it doesn't even care.
No,
he doesn't like
not
give a
even
shit.
slightly.
No one on this ship seems to care about anyone else. And like the mission is what 65 years or whatever it is. And yes, obviously they've been in hypersleep. But these people have known each other for years.
Months. Surely months or years.
We must,
depending on what the shift situation is.
Just so we're clear again, right, chat? The captain has been killed by his neck being melted off by an alien specimen having been released. There's a fire on the ship. There's huge sabotage. Everyone's panicking, quote unquote, more in theory. He walks into the room to discover more context, and the acting captain says, Mr. Morrow, you're in your underwear. The captain is dead on the table there.
That's relevant. That matters right now.
And that's what I mean about...
Actually, this is like a Vault Tech level social experiment that Yutani is pulling off with trapping these people together to see how long it takes for them to kill one another accidentally.
It's unbelievable to me that you have this almost wannabe comedic beat with the captain's corpse just to the right.
And also, again, it feels like it's again worth noting. Remember how in Alien, like the little bit of acid, they were so concerned that it was going to eat through the hull? Are we going to be dealing with that at all in this episode? I don't think so.
No.
In this show, Fringy, no.
Yeah.
Not in the show. But here, you are right.
Of dialogue, right? There was a single line. I think it might be in episode 5 even as well. It's like if you saw what happened the last time with the acid, it'll eat through the ship and we'll all die. That's the only reference to it, I believe.
The acid's not very effective in this show in general.
No, even though it would be a substantial amount of acid here. This would be a
this
lot.
Image, right? He cut through the entire tail. Why?
Before realizing that it was squirting acid.
You'd think to yourself, like, man, if only we had an example in the history of this franchise of a doctor having to deal with this. First, they try to move just the general grip and it tightens. Like, okay, that's not working. Can we cut it off? They do a little incision, acid blood comes out, and they're very lucky that it sprays not on, the body itself. Obviously, they would have tried to do something if that happened, but it went onto the floor, and they were like, oh, shit, and then they follow it, blah, blah, blah. This guy just hacked through it. It was like, whoops.
It's like scissors and just off it goes.
It's either, it honestly looks like he could have just picked up an axe and just chopped. To be like, oh, whoops, there was a neck there. Or, got a gun and shot through the tail.
We find out that this doctor has a history of alcoholism, and he's kind of like a bit eccentric. They don't do anything with this. Like, give him he killed the captain, and they don't do anything with that.
The doctor is the guy that's smoking, right? Like throughout the entire.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even because that obviously, I don't even need to go into it. You're a doctor doing essentially surgery while smoking. That's the kind of thing that you put in if you want to communicate to me that this crew has no idea what they are doing.
Yeah, 100%.
I guess that's there is a I mean, they put basically the extent of their protection for BSI, body substance isolation, is gloves, rubbly gloves, and that's it. No eye protection, no ear protection, no.
It was killing me
face
when
mask,
they
no
had him in
suit.
the scanny thing, and then they decided spontaneously we're going to do open heart surgery, and they just start it. There's no prep for sterilization. There's no room. There's no clothing change. They just start.
Xeno life forms. From
it is
other
medieval.
Yeah. I mean that even they would know to. That's like you should give the medieval people more credit than these aliens people.
Yeah,
but yeah, you're essentially right. I mean, there is a lot of I like it when science fiction stories go through a lot of trouble to whenever an alien or something is encountered, they do checks on, are we biologically compatible? Do we need to do quarantine? Things of that nature. Because even in this show, Cavalier mentions to Yutani that according to some accord, I wrote it down somewhere, that there's a 6-week quarantine period for essentially alien life forms that are discovered. So they know about it in the show. This has been established as a thing. And here they're just like, rip and tear until it's done.
Oh, and someone's mentioned, yes, there is a character called Chlamydia. Just her name. Unfortunate, but it exists. It's out there.
Well, he says the person says, I thought it was a guy, but whatever, fuck, doesn't matter. They're all dumb meat. It says, don't call me that, but it's just like a joke. Morrow calls the character Chlamydia.
I believe that is just their name, 100%.
Maybe
in this
that
universe,
isn't
definitely.
their name, but that's what she just became known for, being the Chlamydia one, so that's why they...
Oh, I'm saying that, it matches the world. I'm sure they're all called STDs.
I mean, we have Boy Cavalier, Dame Sylvia...
Yeah, some of these names you'll say
whatever.
them and people don't believe you that those are the names, but they are. Some people didn't believe Boy Cavalier for a while until they see it in subtitles, and you're like, yep, that's the name. I don't know why, but that's his name.
Because Boy Genius, maybe he legally changed it. I don't know.
He really convinces you he's a boy genius throughout this whole show, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, he's really smart. His eccentricity, is that what it is? His eccentricity.
Sure.
There's another word I would use, but
eccentric. What would it be?
Well, he's just retarded, but yeah, he's also.
Oh well, I mean the specific word having the trait of being eccentric. I think it's eccentricity.
It is eccentric.
But yeah, he never comes across as like a savant.
No.
Like some severely like a severely autistic person who has limitations in some areas, but they're like insanely intelligent in other ways, and they need that assistant to help them. But when they're firing on all cylinders, no one's like a brainiac like they are.
Obviously, how do the people who wrote this portray a genius? It's fair. How?
He doesn't wear shoes.
There you go.
Everyone repeatedly says how smart he is, but his actions speak.
And he has loads of money.
Yeah.
He's like Kieran on the shipwright. He's old and wise, except he's young and wise.
Rags,
it's so tricky at the end. By the end of the show, though, I almost want to have the conversation as to, based on his what we've seen of him, his established personality, his level of intellect, his talent, what he does, his decision making. How the fuck did he build that company?
No idea.
Because I don't believe
because we don't explain it. So just. He made himself a figurehead, and he built a synth when he was 6, and
that's the main information.
How he built that. Because you just said it, Rags. I thought you were going to ask how he built Evil Alfred, because that just made me laugh when that happened.
Well, he did, right?
It would be really cool.
No, I know he did. That's what's so ridiculous.
That's what's wild about it. I mean, I think it could have been cool if you had him who really had these social limitations, and that was the purpose. He was aware enough to know that he needed this assistant who was a synth, and it could be Kirsch or the assistant that he has in this, who's constantly feet off the table, or let me help you put your shoes on, stuff like this, actually helping him through that. They have a relationship and they kind of rely on each other, but he is like the super genius.
I
and,
even-
like, that could have been cool to have.
I even think his backstory would have made for just a better story. Like, even an episode's worth of story that a kid, maybe not 6, because that's a little too young, but, maybe has an abusive father or something and then builds a synth
At least Anakin was 9.
in his likeness and then has it kill his father and take his place. Like, that's like a cool idea. And
That
then,
could be a cool story. I agree. That would
And then
be super
giving
neat
it quite a lot
to
of
see
free
how the
will and
relationship
agency, and it can be like the Obadiah Stane pre-villainy to his Tony
Yeah,
Stark.
and that he was
the synth is the one
always-
that builds the company, does the nitty-gritty stuff, is the diplomatic one, allowing the kid to go and just be a genius, but not in like significant control. Explaining how the company is built, that fusion of precocious genius and actually competent, staid, stolid, reliable old synth man.
I'm still just stuck on this is a TV show where we are told that a 6-year-old built a person.
yes.
Like that's
He's
I don't
smart.
want to say it's comic book cartoon shit because that's just mean to comic books and cartoons.
Well,
It-
Ironheart.
it's
It's Alien Earth shit.
it's Alien Earth shit. Yeah, it's its own category.
You
yes.
Rags referenced the thing they just say like there's a quarantine limitation or whatever the fuck rule that was made at some point in the universe, but isn't it just before that he references another one of you can't bring in extraterrestrial life or something, and they were trying to
you
smuggle
can't-
it.
Yeah, he accuses Yutani of trying to smuggle in alien life forms into Earth, which is not allowed. Yutani claims that it is supposed to be going to an off-world research facility, but it crashed here on Earth, which from their perspective is true.
Well, yeah, sure, but like the breaching the rules of even having the extraterrestrial life on Earth or whatever, but that gets overruled by the fact that it's already here now and that he has them. Like, he basically implies that you can't have them because of those rules, so you've been doing illegal shit. However, I have them now, and they are mine.
Yeah, I took them from you. I
You know
stole
what I
them
mean?
so I
Like,
could just
in the
have them
meeting,
on my island, I guess.
which apparently gives all... I couldn't get over how fucking stupid that was, too. But the whole scene was unnecessary, because everyone in the audience knows that he doesn't plan to give them back. They already had the conversation where all the subtext was clear, right? Where she's like, hey, do you mind if I send my people in? He's like, haha, no, you can't do that. And of course, it's Wayland Yutani, so you're like, oh, well, they've already sent people. People that if you capture them, they would never admit they're Wayland Yutani. That was how that would work. But
Yeah,
no.
because you see, you get people like that by instilling in your loyal, employees a sense of, it's essentially if the corporations are being substituted essentially for countries, it'd be cool to learn about the culture of how that happens. How do you get company men? How do you get people who are that fiercely loyal to a company? How do they instill that loyalty? What do they do? What sort of carrots and sticks do they use?
Yeah, and
Well, you give them an
That's a
arm,
different show.
an arm with a knife in it, and then they belong to you.
Well,
Hey, it's got a blowtorch too.
imagine like a fucking crazy ass subterfuge team made of cyborgs and synths that went in to try and blah blah blah. Like, that could be a really fucking good TV show too. There is about 17,000 TV shows that exist in this
Yes.
TV show that could be good but never happen.
Yeah, this world is, like I said, it's like a cyberpunk parallel kind of world, ripe for different stories of people all over the social ladder, from a CEO of a mega corporation to someone who's just on the street scraping to get by, to space truckers, to scientists, to anybody. What is it like to live in this world? How do the conflicts resolve? I mean, the Platoon had mentioned apparently they wanted this to be a Game of Thrones show. Well, I
Ugh.
mean, maybe in ways that they didn't want it to be. It is indeed like Game of Thrones. But what a damn shame. It'd be really cool. I'd love to have nothing but a show about the politics between these massive companies or that are essentially countries now. How do they interact? How do they keep the peace between them? Do they go to war? If so, how does that happen? What do the other companies think about it? Are they allowed to do this? What are the rules, restrictions? They get into elements of this, like they have a barrister who's appointed by the Five to essentially be a judge and arbitrator
Oh,
between the
it's such an
Yutani and Prodigy
embarrassing scene.
dispute. But like it's treated like it's a watered down substitute for what that scene in that show really should be. And it just leaves you going, well, where's the good show that you could have made out of this?
Because you'd think they would need to do some of it anyway to explain how these 5 corporations can rule the earth and
Exactly.
seemingly have replaced the federal government or any government in the world, whilst there's still being colonial marines later in the timeline, which kind of implies that there is still a government. and that it's not all just corporations doing everything. So I don't
remember
think they'll bother to fix that, but
yeah, because like in Cyberpunk, there's still governments, but there's also massive corporations, and they have to cooperate. They have to essentially. They're both very big and powerful and influential. And open war is just not good for anybody. So how do they cooperate while also doing like corporate espionage kinds of things behind the scenes? But also sometimes they cooperate with what's in their best interest, but sometimes they try to steal from each other. And how do they bump elbows without really getting into fights? All that stuff could be cool. It's not in the show though.
nope.
What a shame. So yeah. I guess we've been floating around, which is fine by me until we get, I guess, into the show proper, I suppose you could say. But essentially, the result, the important stuff you need to know about the Maginot plotline aspect is that, wow, I'm gonna say it. It's gonna sound really dumb, but I promise I actually mean this. Boy Cavalier, who is the CEO of the newest trillion-dollar mega corporation that owns, like, it's one of the biggest corporations on the planet. He's one of the most important human beings that has ever existed in human civilization, to the point where he might be like fucking top 10, like insanely powerful and influential. This Boy Cavalier character. He personally has a message with a member of the crew of the Maginot, a man named Petrovich. And he personally, Boy Cavalier, makes a deal with Petrovich saying that if you can orchestrate the Maginot crashing onto Earth,
Onto my city.
into one of my cities, but essentially within my borders, then I will give you a lot of money. And so Petrovich is able to
Just
actually do this?
but so that everyone understands, because there's some pieces that are floating around right now. This is how long of a mission? 60? Was it 8 years?
65 years.
65. So
Yes.
this mission launches, and then some 30 to 40 years later, Boy Cavalier is born, and then does the thing with his synth and his dad, and he creates this whole company. Presumably, like 20 years after that, he then decides, I'm going to ring the Maginot. Here I go with my call.
He has in that time to have learned about the Maginot, don't know how, where it's gone, don't know how, what it's picked up, don't know how, has to have somehow messaged it. And as we know from previous Alien installments, it does in fact take quite a long time for messages to get from one place to the other across the galaxy, because the galaxy's really big. Has to have messaged to set up a conspiracy, or being contacted by someone who can't know he exists because he didn't exist when he left on the mission, but never mind.
Yep.
And then have to arrange all of that in advance, such that when the Maginot returns to within however far away they are now from Earth, they're not too far at this point, in order for this conversation then to happen, where he can still explain it as though it's happening for the first time, so that the saboteur can say, I hate the fact that my wife's eyeballs got eaten, give me some money. and then I'll crash the ship for you. And he's like, yes, do that. This is insane.
And also just hope that, like, nobody finds out, because if anybody finds out that he did this, which it seems like it should be relatively easy for that to be found out by Whale and Utah.
It is find out.
But it is easy, because they just have to delete the message.
Well, saying from his POV, it would be...
Yeah, from his perspective. But yes, this is worth noting. He is found out pretty effortlessly.
Then the information is downloadable, and it's just evidence.
And it is downloaded. And it is.
Yeah.
And again, to remind people, Boy Cavalier has this video call personally with Petrovich to arrange this.
Because he's fucking stupid. No encryption.
Because he's a boy genius.
Did he know that Petrovich's wife had her eyeballs eaten? Did he already know that?
No, he doesn't already know.
No, he has to...
complains about this on the video call. He says, like, Petrovich is moaning about this, and Boy Cavalier says, I'm going to stop you there because I don't care.
What the fuck? Okay, you just reminded me. Okay, so that means that he contacts this guy Petrovich, and it's after Petrovich has decided to work with him and betray the crew. It's after that he gets his motivation for doing that.
The only alternative is that Petrovich contacted him, but I don't understand how that can happen, given Petrovich shouldn't know that Prodigy even exists, because they've been away for 65 years and the company's only existed for 10.
Which is wild, by the way, world building, that a new corporation has arisen in the last 10 years, which, first off, we'll be frank, if the other corporations don't want another corporation from popping up, another corporation does not pop up.
Also, someone said encryption wouldn't matter, it would have been decrypted on the computer. Let me explain something, okay? This is a sci-fi world where you can have literally anything you want. You can write it such that he uses D417 encryption, and it means that no one can know who said what. You're allowed to do that because it's the future and that this isn't anything you have to base on reality, really. At least sci-fi you can push all over the place. You can, if you tell us that Morrow cannot decrypt it, it cannot be decrypted. It is that simple. That's the power of writing.
Well, and also remember that it is specifically mentioned that Prodigy specializes in AI as a corporation. That's kind of what allowed him to gain prominence as a corporation.
But no,
assuming
he
we accept
calls
that would even happen at all.
with his fucking face and voice. That's
he
what he
FaceTimes
does. And with what we've just discussed, it's like he called the ship itself and said, "Hey, anybody thinking of betraying? Anyone out there? Hello?" And then someone went, "Yeah, me, I guess." And it's like, "Hey, man." And then he said, "Okay, cool. By the way, once we finish this call, do you mind deleting it from the history of the Maginot?" "Yeah, sure, I'll do that." Any way people can retrieve it? It's like, yeah, if they choose to. Oh.
Yeah, if they just run a restore, that just can be done, which is done.
Delete the message.
Trivially
easy.
Yeah,
it doesn't even take that long.
But no, this is what I mean. Like, they wrote it such that there's just no attempt to hide that Boy Cavalier did this, that he paid someone to sabotage the ship such that it crashes into Earth and kills countless thousands, causes immense property damage. He's going to, I was about to say going to jail. He might just be killed.
Like, space jail.
The punishment for this would be pretty high, and there's just definitive evidence that he's done it. If only Weyland-Yutani had a legal reason to try and take down Boy Cavalier, you know? If only they had any motivation to destroy him and his company.
What do you think Cavalier would have done if he calls up and says, "Hey, anyone fancy betraying Yutani?" And they said no? Does he just fire a space nuke up and just blow up?
No, I don't think he bothers. I think he just continues to release his brand new fucking hybrid creatures and then solves the problem of death, which is another thing. You have solved death, and you have this brand new technology which you're about to release onto the world. Why exactly do you need a xenomorph? What is more important about an alien?
Because it's really fucking cool. Okay.
Do you remember the line?
You need the black goo to solve death.
Do you remember the line for why he doesn't want Weyland-Yutani to have the xenomorph?
He doesn't want one to end up in his stomach.
He basically says, "I don't want them to kill me with it." And it's like, they don't need a xenomorph to kill you.
We have guns.
Lots and lots of guns.
Guns in
the show are useless
from Pocahontas. That's why we have guns.
There's another aspect of this as well, which is like so we're talking about the discovery. The show has written itself into this particular corner because it wants Morrow to have a particular grudge against Boy Cavalier, and this is the only way they thought they could do it. Like, he needs to learn about this before the Maginot gets back, in order that when Morrow gets back to Earth, he can go on some kind of vengeance crusade. The other, much more sensible, no, they don't need that, because the more sensible way of doing it would be for him to have him land on Earth not knowing who was responsible and discover by other much less retarded means who was responsible. And that could be like a big shock, twist, reveal thing, because we're talking about episode 5 now, right? This is the other aspect of the Discovery, the meta side of Discovery. Episode 1 leaves you with two things it considers mystery. What is it that killed a bunch of the crew, and who was responsible for it? You get all the way to episode 5, and the answer is, well, I guess it was the aliens who killed some of the crew, and I guess it was the evil businessman.
Boy Cavalier asked them too. Yeah.
This isn't a mystery. We all knew this by the time everybody else discovers it. So you could have written it in any different way you liked. You're not actually bound to do it the way the show did, but the show chose to do it.
The most fascinating reveal is
who's version of a plant
who's got the individual highest kill count, because it isn't the xenomorph and it isn't the saboteur.
That's true.
I was going to say it's Wendy, but only by proxy.
No, I mean on the Maginot.
Are we saying that, like, criminal negligence counts as a kill.
Yeah,
The doctor, in that case, that's
he
fine.
then
fucking
it'd be
killed
the
the
doctor,
captain,
man.
and then he killed the guy with the things on his lungs, and then he killed it by doing that. He killed himself, and he killed the other
Himself
nurse.
and
He
the,
killed about 5
the
people by
zoologist, yeah.
being like such a bad doctor that he's just racking up a body count. Like, yeah.
He's a Canadian doctor.
Motherfucker killed so many people. Like I said, it was so funny watching it. The Xeno was like, "Bro, you keep kill stealing. I can't get anybody." Like it's only
Bro, I'll
once
never
he's-
level up at this rate.
Once he's dead, I think it's
Like,
during his death that the Xeno gets its first kill, and then after that, the Xeno has to mop up because there's no one left. It's just like fucking hell. And of course, the eye tentacle boy gets one of them. So the Xeno again is just like, why am I even here? What's the point?
You know, that's actually a really good question. Why is the xenomorph here in this
Alien
show?
Earth.
Because calling the
Um,
show Retarded Doctor Earth would not. It doesn't have the same IP power.
I would watch the fuck out of Retarded Doctor Earth.
I mean, I would also watch. I would watch the fuck out of Lord.
I would be
Yes.
every fucking Tuesday night. I would be in this chair watching the new episode of Retarded Doctor Earth.
You just have to
Well,
adjust.
hey, it's
the
like Wendy
plot.
says. At least it's honest.
You have to adjust the plot so that way Yutani send out the Maginot to go and pick up retarded doctors from other planets and bring them back.
This is the easy
So that they
solution.
can
Is
putting together a team.
Utani or 'cause Prodigy or some other company don't have Prodigy. It makes world building problems that another corporation just gets to exist. But have another corporation just be like, yeah, one of the people on the crew was a plant the entire time, or two of them were.
So
You know, two saboteurs are working in unison on this 65-year-long mission, and that's way more interesting.
Well,
It's
why
more
not have
subversive, it makes more
Morrow
sense.
work for Prodigy? Like rebuild the whole story so that the security guy is the actual saboteur, and that the POV of the episode is all from him, and the audience don't even know that he's the actual saboteur. So all this investigation stuff is actually bullshit. We get a bunch of red herrings.
We show him, yeah. The audience only sees the parts that Morrow wants the crew to see, and
And then
see
the
it from
reveal is,
crew's
yeah, he's the one that was
perspective.
behind it all. He's the one that's been killing, or rather destroying systems, getting everything ready for sabotage, releasing some aliens here and there. Maybe he has some way of defending himself that's more consistent than just hope. But, and then organizes where it's going to crash. And then, you just, that's the reveal of the episode. It's like the whole time he was the one, even though he's the least likely, blah, blah, blah. Just anything.
And then
You could work some
And
other
then-
stuff into that as well. Like if it was a pre-existing corporation, which, as Rag said, would like solve a huge number of world-building problems. The father character actually was the guy who sent this mission out, or sent the security guy there, and he was actually quite a nice, good guy in charge of this corporation. And during the 65-year mission, he dies. Morrow gets updated instructions from his successor, this mysterious boy cavalier. We never see him. We don't know what he looks like. We don't know what he sounds like. Changing the instructions, and Morrow goes along with it. Doesn't
Yeah.
know why, but he's just following the orders.
That
because
would be
that's what he
cool.
does.
Really play with the
And
timeline,
yeah.
actually. Do
You get
something,
back
God
and you
forbid, do
find
something
that-
with the 65-year gap.
Because they do it
You
with
could just-
Yutani. Like Yutani's grandmother was like in charge when the ship left, and then they get back and it's a new Yutani, but they don't actually turn that into any kind of story beat at all. Whereas you
No,
can
it's just a
easily
line.
turn it into a story beat.
Yeah,
But
the
you could
new
say that, like,
Yutani lady
Morrow
just
was
says,
built-
"Oh, you knew my grandmother." So yeah, but that's basically it. You're right.
they could just have it so that Morrow was the surprise reveal. Morrow was built by Cavalier.
Another way you could definitely
Well,
take it.
There's all sorts of stuff. That's the thing. There's all sorts of stuff you could do that are interesting. Off the top of our heads, we've mentioned half a dozen. They cause less world building problems. It's better for intrigue and mystery. The idea of, just think about it conceptually, right? Morrow is our protagonist, at least for now. He is the security officer aboard a ship. There is at least one saboteur he is trying to find on this mission. Also, you have the semi-ticking clock of there's aliens that are kind of on the loose and they're in containment. That's like, how many different permutations of that story could you possibly make?
You could get a
near
full
infinite amount.
season of TV out of that alone. But like they say, hey, you got to
Absolutely.
get one episode. You're like, all right, I still think it can be done, and it can be really interesting. Get an hour.
Could be, yeah. An hour's a long time. You could cram a lot of story into an hour of TV. Believe you
could.
me.
Never mind. We don't do that here.
I've mentioned it before, but actually, while I was, while I was getting the episodes for this show, I also got Chernobyl, and I found myself just like falling into watching that show again.
But
and
addictive.
I was just fed. Chernobyl's 5 episodes. That's it. And think of all the stuff that happens in that show, all the characters, all the scenes, all that happens. And then you watch this show, and boy, look, I'll say it this way. I didn't have to pause much to take my notes because there's huge swaths of nothing.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
They waste so much fucking time. One of the ones that struck me in this episode particularly was, when they wake him up and give him the
episode 1
full
or 5.
five. When they wake him up and tell him everything that's happened. One of the things it included, obviously, is that the captain and Bronsky were hit with facehuggers. Then we go into the room, we see that, and the captain's dead because he did the operation. But then they felt the need to show us Morrow going into the security room, sitting down, type,
Pressing the buttons,
screens come
yeah.
on, cycle through cameras, get to the room in which the incident took place, rewind, play, show the captain enter the room, show Bronsky enter the room. They deal with the fire, or at least partially do. The eggs open, the facehuggers come out, they crawl, then they jump, and they go, ah! And then it gets them, and they fall over. It's like, yeah, I knew all of this. You just
You
spent
don't understand, though, Morlo.
we- yeah.
Alien is slow-paced. This has to be slow-paced as well.
Jesus Christ, what a waste of my time. I knew all of that, so did Morrow. And it's like, yeah, but you gotta see
We
him
learn
see it.
nothing by seeing.
Like,
we
okay.
learn nothing by watching the footage of it happen. If anything, we lose the fact of imagining how it happened, and you get maybe a couple people give descriptions of what they found or whatever, or someone says, I saw the security camera, it did this, blah, 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 as they explain it. It's wasting time. It is redundant. It gives us, it doesn't give us new information. And you can, like I said, you can cram a lot of stuff into an episode of TV, especially if you have, well, I mean, fuck it, you can give yourself as much time as you want. It's your goddamn show. You're paying the bill. You get to make those decisions when you got money. But in this, it actually is redundant. We learn nothing. We are wasting time.
Sure are. Do you know the part where she goes to see Mother as well, the captain, after having been told explicitly that they already knew that the mission is all about the cargo and not them? And then she asks Mother about the cargo being dropped, and it says no. And she's like, what? And the Mother's like,
yeah, there's a very long scene where it's like,
the
you have
cargo's
to
way more
acknowledge
important.
this.
Yeah, but like, this is what I mean about it being such a bad copy. It doesn't know, like, it's trying to do the scene where Ripley realizes that a lot of this carnage is because of the fact that the company doesn't value them. And that Ash being in there, keeping an eye on it because it turns out he's actually aligned with the company and not at all with the well-being of the crew. It's such a good part of the film, and they've like butchered it completely. And the equivalent here, by the way, she's like the worst actress in the whole show, this lady, and having her be like, hey, computer, can we get rid of cargo because it's a bit weird and we don't have control over it? And it's just like, no. And then they're like, oh, and then it says you actually have to take more care of it than anything else. And she's like, what? And then it says that if you don't, I'm going to put someone else in charge, okay? The acknowledge thing. And then she's like, okay. And that's like the scene. What?
It's probably worth mentioning here that these characters are not the ones that are 10-year-olds piloting adult bodies.
No.
These are actual adults.
These are the ones that don't have an in-universe excuse.
Saying, we've talked about all of these characters are essentially worthless for the story. We just enjoy talking about stupid people in stupid TV shows. We haven't even really gotten to the actual like main plot of the show because, I mean, it's just fucking just love the game over here. We just love talking about stupid shit. Everything that we've been talking about could essentially be erased from the show and nothing would happen. This could be all just assumed background information. That is, by the way, if this ship crashes onto New Siam on Earth, and we literally learn nothing about how it happened, nothing changes in the show. Arguably, the show is better for introducing something that could be mysterious.
Yeah, I didn't even understand by the time we'd seen this why this wasn't just episode 1 as opposed to 5. Why did they put it at 5? What was the big reveal? And I think someone might try to argue, well, the reveal was Boyd Cavalier was the one that orchestrated this. It's like, that changes nothing.
And we knew it. Like, we
that
could
actually doesn't
reasonably
change
sure
anything.
that was what happened anyway.
Well, you know what? It should change something, because Morrow has that footage and he gave it to Wayland Yutani. That should actually destroy Boyd Cavalier's whole company, like that evidence. But it doesn't come up.
It does not come up. And Morrow does not need an extra reason to do the things he does in this show. He is Yutani through and through. He has spent a large portion of his life to get these specimens, which is something about his character I do actually like. I think that's kind of neat. That he shows a lot of investment in getting them back just because of his the years he spent and what he's lost on Earth by doing this job. But we don't need that. It's a superfluous reason for Morrow, and also it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't amount to anything. Maybe in season 2 it will. But just to just to put this into perspective, I guess, or to give a little bit of a nod to something to come. Essentially, the last scene in this show has Morrow and Boy Cavalier in the same cell, and they do not say a word to each other.
Nope.
We don't really care like about what they have to say to each other because we're there. It's all about what's her name? And how
Wendy,
awesome
Wendy.
she is.
she
Yeah.
is so fucking awesome. She is my
I don't-
original character. Do not steal. All right. She is she is the protagonist. Let me tell you.
I don't. We'll.
We will
Yeah,
definitely
that's-
talk
that's
about her.
later.
She hasn't
Yeah.
even come up yet because
That's later.
just
That's
look up
later.
her story there is to talk about. We can't even talk about the main character yet. But I'm with
Yeah.
you on that completely, and I do think that most of what could be considered the good parts of Morrow are still the snippets of what would have been his character, and then accentuated by the
Same
guy's
with, like,
performance.
Kirsch and stuff.
Well,
Yeah, yeah.
But I
There's
specifically
some
want to make sure we
particularly good
understand. Like,
actors here, but
I don't think the writing's very good at all. It's just that you see the guy portray the character with a lot of like weight, frustration, sort of animosity, and you're like, that's got to come from somewhere. And it's like, what have we got in the writing? It's like this. I guess, yeah, it's that. And it's like it's almost more credit than they deserve, and they certainly didn't deserve the actor. And yeah, you're right. That totally applies to Timothy Olyphant, who a lot of people said was their favorite character. And it's like, you can't explain why beyond the actor. You can't.
He's your favorite
Yeah,
actor.
I mean,
that's
he's
what
my
you mean to say.
He's among my. He may be my favorite actor in here. He's among my favorites. I mean, there's some good performances. I mean, some of
Yeah.
the kids have pretty good performances. I mean, Smee in particular, I think he really sells.
I agree with
being a
you.
juvenile, but
It's just hard to say
but-
because yeah, it's like, oh, they played that retarded character really well. You're like, yeah, they sure
well,
did.
some sell it way better than others. I think.
No, because yeah, I get what you're saying. The childish mannerisms. I knew who you're picking because he is the best one at it, and it's just
It's me. Yeah.
it's not nice that like it's not for anything worthwhile. You know.
It's acting wasted. It kind of is. It's acting that's being wasted.
Yeah, it is because he could have been in something else. That
Well,
good
and-
writing.
Yeah, he could have been in this show, but good. You know.
Like the reason it's like a conflicting thing because I have to like separate out the points of praise versus criticism, because when a scene starts up and you have a character who is pretending to be a child and talking about nothing relevant, it's fucking annoying. But it's like, yeah, but they're doing it really well, and you're like, yeah.
Yep, I believe it.
Like-
That's, if anything, that's why it annoys me.